going back to this right here.
Yes.
I'm back on this area. Looking at the projections, and I know that you said it can fluctuate. Just looking at some of the numbers, it looks like if this is the norm, you'll probably be over about $900,000. What I did was I added up all of these, sort of rounded, as you can see, so it's the exact number. And it looks like so far your estimated use is about 3.8 million of January. If you project that all the way to June 30th, it looks like you might be about $6.6 million, which is 900,000 over the FY14 overtime budget. If this is the norm, do you have any plans on what you'll do if that overage is reality?
Well, let me say this. What you see here is a month-to-month snapshot for sure. So I'm thinking what you look at, the trend is what we spend, what you see, it will trend down. It will trend down for the balance of the fiscal year. So that's one thing that will happen. But there is only one solution to prevent the overtime, in addition to the brownouts, is to you have to take trucks offline. That's what it takes to stop the overtime. It takes 4 persons to staff the truck, and I can't run every 3, so I have to call that 4th person in, and there is no way to avoid these calls, even if it goes over the budget, unless we take a fire truck offline. And you see, we've done a number of those since fiscal year 10, and we really have. We've exhausted that option as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. And that's why I asked the question, because and you gave the answer. I was going to ask you, did you have to possibly take the angel and let it off? Because you said $1 million is the cost to both of them. So if you did go over 900,000 a million, that would probably be
taking the trucks out of somebody's community.
Okay. All right. Director Armstrong. I'm going to try to condense all of this into one piece. The council last year decided to exclusively cut the budget, your budget, $6 million. And you got in all the slides, and what I want to do is I want to juxtapose if there was no $6 million cut, you would have forecasted what you could have done. I know there would have probably been some attrition and a few other things. And then I want you to forecast with the $6 million cut what you already put in here in addition to what you forecast as well. So I just have 4 categories, and then I'm done, Mr. Chairman. As far as the promotional testing, you said that you would have been able to do that possibly if the $6 million was not cut.
That's correct. We would have been able to successfully complete the promotional testing for the rest of the sergeant as well as lieutenant.
Okay, and without the 6, are you able to do it at all? All right, thank you. As far as the recruiting class, you said 69 individuals. You would have been able to do the recruiting class with the 6.
That's correct.
And without the 6, no? Okay. The attrition, I know there will still be attrition because there was overall cut throughout all the divisions. If the $6 million was in, what would the attrition number be? Maybe like 100, 150?
I think the attrition number was pretty less. Our portion of the attrition number would have been less. 170.
Okay. So with that 170, if you had the recruiting class of 69, you would have been at a net loss of 100.
Yes.
Okay. With the $6 million cut, what's that net loss?
What's the net loss?
Correct. Because I know the attrition amount will go up, and I can't subtract the recruiting class number because you can't perform them.
The net loss would be actually the 349 positions.
Okay. So double the 170.
Yes.
All right. As far as the overtime is concerned, if the $6 million was in?
The overtime would, we still would have had over $600,000 overtime.
And without?
Without it, we had to be very strategic in how we do that.
Okay. And then, sort of similar question, and this is my last question.
Okay.
if you see any overages, I just asked the representative what he would have to do in one particular aspect as far as overtime is concerned. And he said that he might have to look at taking an engine or a ladder out to offset the deficit. Do you have any contingency plans?
We are looking at several different things, including the lean shifts, including longer shifts. At this point, we're not at a point where we're ready to implement any of those things, but we are looking at several different things.
Okay. And if you could, I already made a little chart, if you could make one like what I tried to do,
Yes,
if you appreciate it. That's all I have.
Councilman Flynn.
Thank you, and I'll be very brief. And this is to both, but it's going to be directed specifically to Director Armstrong in this. I'm looking at page 14 of your handout, and it's the elimination of police recruiting class, less officers patrolling the street, reduction in arrests, reduction in traffic enforcement, less proactive policing, reduction of blue crush, all these negatives from not having it. And we go back into the budget decisions that were made back in June, and one of the things overhanging all that was, and you mentioned in your statement how over that time period we increased officers, and that led to the reduction in crime. But when we made these decisions on the budget, we also had the PFM study in there that said we increased officers and did not gain a single extra patrol. That it all went to the back offices, it all went to that. Something similar was said in executive session last time. So I'm not gonna ask you to respond now, I just keep pointing out that we got a tale of two cities on this issue, and they're both coming from the same administration. So I just wanna get everyone on the same page of that. Please, yeah, please do.
I think what you have to remember a couple of budget cycles ago, there was a significant portion of our civilian complement cut as well. I think we gave up 100 civilian positions.
About 2009, yeah.
These are still, some of these positions are essential to our operations. So as the position or the body went away, the responsibility still existed in a lot of those positions. We have police officers that have to assume those responsibilities.
Okay, yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna get into the organization of the police department now, but, I mean, we have this information from you stating one thing, and then we have the information from PFM stating a completely different thing. And when you know, none of this is being made in a vacuum. You know, we have the pension issue looming, we have high tax rate presently here. So somehow we're gonna have to square these circles, and when we get conflicting data from the administration, it makes it next to impossible.
Councilman, if I can address the fire piece as it relates to the recommendation. One item on that bucket list we've already checked off. That was one recommendation that we reduced by 24 persons.
Is that the attrition policy?
That was part of
3
that.
years ago or 2 years ago?
No, that's what the PFM study just recently. One of the items, one of the recommendations that we were to reduce by 24 persons. I think that was the figure, maybe 1.5 million or so a year. We've already done that. We did that July 1st is when we did that. So fire's already done that particular one. We've already done it.
So the other part of this, last part of this discussion is paid time off. And so for the administration, what will your proposal do? There's a third way to more brownouts or more overtime. It's less number of days, less vacation days. The things y'all pointed out in the earlier committee meeting, the current policy, which has evolved over time. So what, based on no one wants rolling brownouts, what will the policy that you're proposing, which is an administrative issue, how will that impact the economics of, let's just focus on fire, since that was one of the areas that they focused on in the presentation.
Okay, if I may, take the lead and respond to that, and a couple other closing comments. I mean, clearly, I think we can reduce the impact of time taken off. We could reduce the need for brownouts. Now, paid time off in and of itself, if all we did was shift from vacation days as they're currently classified and did not make any changes in the total accrual, that's really not going to make a difference. We would have to change the pool rates to
The
make
what
a
rates?
accrual rates, the total number of days that you have to work with, therefore the total number of days taken off. And that's where there could be savings realized. I think PFM had estimated upwards of $1 million or more. That could go against the bottom line. We're going to cost that out and bring back a specific proposal with specific dollars, and ultimately they could be allocated back. I think to Councilman Flynn's comments, first of all, I would say overall, if you look at fire and police, we had probably one of our best years last year, both in terms of the number of fires and based on the crime data that Director Armstrong shared at the top. And that's even with the changes that we've had to make. As I noted, a number of things have been done that are sort of one-time items, and so again, as several council members have observed, we have to take on those issues of promotional testing, recruit classes, and even attrition. But at the end of the day, as we face the pension issue, I think Councilman Collins made reference to Nashville making decisions. We're going to be talking with them about a pension bill that's probably going to run here in the next couple of weeks that may require cities that have defined benefit plans within 5 years to be paying their full ARP. And so we're going to have to look at some ways of balancing that out. In our preliminary thinking on the budget, we're not looking to request a tax increase. And so as we look at public safety, to quote Willie Sutton, we've got to look where the money is. Specifically looking at the PFM recommendations, some have already been checked off. Frankly, fire has been ahead of the curve even before there was a PFM report and already implemented certain measures, the brownouts, sort of the emergency response to what we face. There may be through paid time off changes a way to offset that. So we think that we can balance all this out, but it is going to require some tough trade-offs going from fiscal year 14 to 15, and I think PFM had indicated, and I'm not sure that we concur as an administration with their findings, that over the course of 4 or 5 years, there's somewhere on the order of about $36 million, and that was a figure that was noted in their report in savings over 5 years. We're not sure that we buy all the assumptions, but we do think in looking at things like the burglary calls, response to accidents, animal calls, the civilianization issue that was raised, and we're going to be examining that very closely, and some of those things are going to be incorporated along with whatever we decide to bring forward on paid time off in our final proposals.
And what are those?
What are those?
The final proposals?
Well, I mean, when we present a budget, we're going to have discussions between now and then and bring specific items. We're not just going to drop it on the council. Here it is in the budget. Between now and then, but when the budget comes forward, some of those items are going to be reflected in the final budget. But we've got to balance it out.
Councilman Collins, do you have something?
Thank you. Just very quickly, Mr. Chairman. And in light of the PFM report, I guess the fiscal year 14 budget will reflect some of those suggestions that they made. Now I just hear you say you all may not agree with some of those, so it may be totally different. Director Armstrong, of the civilian FTEs, you got July 13,480. How many of those actually filled? On page 18. The civilians, not the commission. I know what that means.
You said which time?
Fiscal year 14, just the last column all the way to the right, second column from the right. You got the number is 480. Of that 480, how many of them are Thank you. Thank you.
Seeing no further discussion, thank you all very much for being here today. We appreciate it. Appreciate all you do. We're adjourned.